democracy knows no party. It's a living, breathing ideal that defines us as a nation. It's the bedrock that separates us from tyranny, and when that foundation is fractured, we must all stand together, united, to strengthen it.
That is former GOP Congressman Adam Kinzinger speaking at the Democratic National Convention last night. He's one of several Republicans voicing their support for the Harris-Walz ticket. Kinzinger urged his party to summon up the courage and vote against Donald Trump for the sake of democracy. And CNN's Jeff Zeleny joins us now, along with national political reporter for Axios and CNN political analyst Alex Thompson. Alex, welcome to CNN. Good to see you here on set. Let me go to you first. The Harris campaign has been courting moderate Republicans like Adam Kinzinger all week long. Let's listen to what Kamala Harris said about that last night, talking on the other side.
I know there are people of various political views watching tonight, and I want you to know, I promise to be a president for all Americans. You can always trust me to put country above party and self, to hold sacred America's fundamental principles, from the rule of law to free and fair elections to the peaceful transfer of power.
Alex, those words, "you can always trust me," really stood out to me in that comment there. It's almost as though this week, yes, they got the big, but it was this appeal to the middle. It was this trying to reach over to the center right. All week long, it was a recurring theme.
Yeah, we don't just have a new candidate, we also have a new message.
Yeah.
And that was Joe Biden was very focused on democracy on January 6th, about Trump being an existential threat to the republic, to democracy. Kamala Harris has basically pivoted and said, Trump is basically, a racist buffoon, and I am here to, as Oprah put it, it's common sense over nonsense. And she very much presented herself as a pragmatic deal maker who is going to present, be a faithful steward to the country.
Yeah, Jeff, I mean, you had an amazing vantage point all week long, just off to the stage with your producer, Bonnie. And, I mean, that must have been something to watch. But, I mean, what did you make of the way the Democrats pulled this off this week? I mean, it was almost as if they got Kamala Harris on stage as quickly as possible last night to get out of here to try to stick this landing.
I mean, quite literally, our vantage point was good from the podium, looking out into the sea of delegates, and what we saw was unity. What we saw was really the tapestry of the Democratic Party that is a far bigger tent than perhaps we thought, but from the speakers of AOC and Bernie Sanders, but also J.B. Pritzker, and just a variety of views, but then the Republicans on stage. But I think that Vice President Harris, you could not have asked for a stronger convention for her. I think a month ago she was just hoping to secure the nomination. But so we do know that. A strong speech, a very strong convention. What we don't know is how this is playing in America, how this is going to settle in, and sort of what she goes from here. But at this point, basically a month and a couple days in, she is in a far...
exceeded their expectations so far, but it all comes down to what we see in the polls, maybe if she got a bounce out of this, or if we're locked in this kind of 50-50 race. And guys, I do want to, somebody else who was watching last night was Donald Trump. He tweeted, and let's show this to our viewers, posted more than 38 times. We counted 38 times during Harris's remarks. Look at this, writing, "Is she talking about me?" was one of the posts. And too many thank yous. And where's Hunter? I think there was another one where he said that Tim Walz is an assistant coach, not a real coach. I mean, anybody who watches football knows coach is coach. Like, you don't mess with assistant coaches. They can make or break you. What do you think about Trump's fixation on this speech last night?
Well, I mean, it very much shows that this has really gotten under his skin. And Trump advisors also acknowledge privately that, he has been a little bit off his game. And, it's in some ways a little bit understandable, because in his mind, he's like, why did I debate Joe Biden? He was the one that said anytime, anywhere, any place. He debates him, and they spent over a year developing this campaign to take on Joe Biden. Now he has an opponent that is 20 years younger, that has shifted the message, that is basically presenting herself as not an incumbent, but the candidate of change, a way to turn the page. And you can tell that he is incredibly frustrated by it.
Yeah, Jeff, I mean, what stood out to you as your top moments from the convention? I mean, we talked about this reach to the middle. I think there was also this shift to the message of freedom from democracy, something that Joe Biden liked to talk a lot about. I mean, Kamala Harris did talk about that last night, but freedom was definitely the buzzword during this week's convention.
It definitely was, but I think overall, I mean, since this was the first convention since 2016, to me, the differences and how the 2016 campaign still hangs over all of this, and those were my top moments. Michelle Obama saying, do something.
Yeah.
I'm Michelle Obama. I'm having a call for action. Hillary Clinton, we can't let up. So I think throughout this, it was the lessons learned, no time for complacency. This is different than 2016. Of course, what has happened since then? 4 years of the Trump administration. The Harris message of joy. This is something that this joyful warrior was something that was really a through line for everything. But I think perhaps more than anything, as we looked out onto the hall and as we see voters across the country, this could be the year of the woman voter. We've talked about that a lot. It certainly was in '92, but this is a pivotal women voting year. And members of Congress, elected officials up and down the ballot, this is a time when women are coming alive here. You didn't hear Vice President Harris talking about the history-making aspect of it,
Yeah.
but sure everyone else did.
Well, and there was that iconic image of one of her grandnieces, I think, watching all of this unfold last night. It was just such a remarkable image captured by the New York Times. Alex, some final thoughts from you on this race. I sort of, Jeff, you were referring back to the convention hall. This is a very CNN moment here. We're always here when they're tearing stuff down at the end of these things. And here we are.
Last to leave.
That's it, exactly. But Alex, I mean, what stands out to you as we wrap this thing up?
The last thing I will say is the race for the Democratic nomination, the next one, is already underway.
Yeah.
This week, all the Governor Shapiro, Governor Whitmer, Governor Pritzker, they were all making the rounds at Nevada, New Hampshire, all these delegation
I did
breakfasts.
see that, yeah.
Yeah, it's already underway. So regardless of what happens in November, be on the lookout for that.
But the question is, it's incumbent on if she wins in November, we could be 16 years away from any of them having their shot. So that's why these are so interesting.
Yeah, and guys, also a quick thought on RFK Jr. I mean, he went from, okay, this is somebody who could make a real difference in this race because he was polling at 10%, maybe plus in some of these states. It's not that anymore. Does that make a big difference if he comes out as we expect and get behind Donald Trump today?
Look, I think on the margins, it certainly can make a difference. I've met many RFK Jr. supporters in Wisconsin and Michigan, so where they go certainly is interesting. There still are other third-party options, but there is an overlying effect with the Trump campaign, so I think it helps Donald Trump without a doubt. Is it that many voters? Perhaps not, but on the margins it could
And
matter.
you know, I mean, covering the Hillary Clinton campaign, they will tell you, Jill Stein,
For sure.
places like Wisconsin. I mean, these margins could be so tight that it could absolutely make a difference. Alex?
Yeah, and arguably Democrats did too good of a job of tearing RFK down. They really drained his resources with all these ballot lawsuits and challenging his ballot access. He clearly saw no path forward.
He had something else to do with it too, with the brainworms, bear carcass. But fair enough. Alex and Jeff, great convention, guys. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it. Great coverage.